I was standing in my driveway on Spotswood Avenue in East Memphis on a Tuesday morning when my daughter called to tell me she'd just gotten another promotion. What I discovered 3 weeks later would shatter every assumption I had about her success and reveal a betrayal so calculated, it still makes my hands shake when I think about it. My name is Thomas Edward Richardson. I'm 64 years old, and I spent 38 years as a master mechanic at the FedEx World Hub before I retired in 2019. My wife Loretta and I raised 2 children in the same brick house we bought in 1987. My son Deandra, who's a nurse at Methodist Le Bonheur, and my daughter Jasmine, my baby girl, my pride and joy. For the past 4 years, I've been telling everyone at Greater Emmanuel Baptist Church about how Jasmine had climbed the corporate ladder at a tech startup downtown. Vice President of Digital Innovation. That's what her business card said. I kept one in my wallet. She drove a white 2024 Tesla Model 3. Lease payment around $680 a month from what she'd mentioned once. She wore those designer suits Ann Taylor, Tahari, and she always had her hair done at that upscale salon on Poplar Avenue, the one where appointments cost $150 minimum. Every Sunday dinner at our house, she'd talk about board meetings, strategy sessions, overseas clients. Loretta would beam with pride, passing Jasmine the collard greens, asking about her big office with the view of the Mississippi River. Before we go any further, I want to ask you something. Where are you watching this from right now? And what time is it where you are? Drop that in the comments, because I'm curious how far this story travels. And if you're new here, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and give this video a like. You're going to want to follow how this unfolds. Trust me. Now, I need you to understand something about me before this story goes where it's going. I'm not the type of father who meddles in his grown children's business. Jasmine was 34 years old, had her master's degree from the University of Memphis, lived in her own apartment in the Crosstown Concourse building, rent about $1,400 a month. She was independent, smart, capable. But I'm also not the type of man who ignores his instincts. And in my 64 years on this earth, my instincts have saved me more times than I can count. The first crack in the facade appeared on a Wednesday afternoon in late September. I'd driven down to South Memphis to pick up some parts from a buddy who runs an auto shop on Elvis Presley Boulevard. I was heading back north on 3rd Street, right past the Dollar General on the corner of Mallory Avenue, when I saw it. That white Tesla Model 3. Tennessee plates, AJKM 447. I knew those plates because I'd helped Jasmine register the car at the DMV on Mullins Station Road back in January. I slowed down, thinking maybe she was just grabbing something quick on her lunch break, even though this was nowhere near downtown where her office supposedly was. The car was parked in the employee section, right next to the dumpster, with a Dollar General employee packing permit hanging from the rearview mirror. My stomach dropped, but I told myself there had to be an explanation. Maybe she was helping a friend. Maybe the company had some partnership program I didn't know about. I pulled into the lot and sat there for 20 minutes. Engine running, gospel station playing low. At 3:47 p.m. exactly, the side door of the Dollar General opened, and Jasmine walked out. She wasn't wearing Ann Taylor. She was wearing a yellow Dollar General polo shirt with a name tag pinned to it, black slacks that looked worn at the knees, and those cheap, non-slip shoes that retail workers wear. Her hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail, no salon styling. She looked exhausted in a way I'd never seen before, shoulders slumped, feet dragging across the asphalt. I sat frozen in my truck, a 2018 Ford F-15. I'd maintained myself for 8 years. She didn't see me. She got in that Tesla, sat there for a minute with her head against the steering wheel, then drove off heading west toward Lamar Avenue. I didn't follow her. I just sat there in that parking lot for another 30 minutes, trying to make sense of what I'd just witnessed. That night at dinner, just Loretta and me, The kids didn't come on Wednesdays. I didn't say anything. Loretta asked if something was wrong because I'd barely touched her chicken and dumplings, and I never leave food on my plate when she cooks that. I told her my back was acting up, old injury from lifting transmissions for 4 decades. She believed me because it was true often enough. But what was really bothering me was the image of my daughter, my successful VP daughter, walking out of a Dollar General in an employee uniform, looking like the weight of the world was crushing her. I couldn't sleep that night. At 2:30 a.m., I got up and went into my home office, the converted spare bedroom where I keep my computer and my files. I pulled up Jasmine's LinkedIn profile. Vice President of Digital Innovation at NextGen Solutions. The company had a website that looked professional enough, stock photos, buzzwords about synergy and disruption, a downtown Memphis address on Union Avenue. I wrote down everything: the office address, the phone number, the names of the other executives listed. Then I did something I'm not particularly proud of, but I make no apologies for it. I'm a father, and when something doesn't add up, I investigate. I called the main number listed for NextGen Solutions the next morning at 9:15 a.m. It rang 4 times, then went to a generic voicemail. You've reached the offices of NextGen Solutions. Please leave a message. No person, no directory, no options. I called back 3 more times throughout the day. Same thing every time. Friday afternoon, I drove downtown to the address listed on the website, 245 Union Avenue, Suite 802. It's a legitimate office building, 8 stories, marble lobby, the whole deal. I took the elevator to the 8th floor. Suite 802 was there, but when I looked through the glass door, the space was completely empty. Not moving in, empty. Not moving out, empty. Empty like nobody had been there in months, maybe years. Just dusty floors, some abandoned office furniture pushed against one wall, and windows that nobody had cleaned since the Reagan administration. I stood there for a long time, looking through that glass, feeling something cold settle in my chest. My daughter had been lying to us. The only question was why, and how deep the lie went. That Sunday, Jasmine came to dinner like always. She pulled up at 12:30 p.m. in that Tesla, wearing casual clothes, jeans, and a nice blouse, and carrying a bottle of wine she said cost $40 at the Whole Foods on Poplar. She hugged her mother, kissed my cheek, asked how my back was feeling. She was a good actress. I'll give her that. If I hadn't seen what I'd seen, hadn't stood in that empty office suite, I would have believed every word that came out of her mouth. Loretta had made her Sunday best: fried chicken, mac and cheese, green beans with bacon, cornbread, sweet potato pie for dessert. Deandra was there with his fiancée Monica, a teacher at Whitehaven High School. We sat around the table we'd bought at Rhodes Furniture in 1989, the same table where we'd had thousands of family meals, and Jasmine told us about her week. A big presentation for a client in Nashville. A strategy meeting that ran until 9 p.m., her boss praising her initiative. Every word was a lie, and I knew it, but I didn't call her out. Not yet. In my 64 years, I've learned that patience defeats impulse every single time. You don't confront someone until you have all the facts, until you understand not just what they're doing, but why they're doing it. Rush in with accusations, and people get defensive, build walls, dig in deeper. Wait, watch, gather information, and the truth reveals itself. After dinner, while Loretta and Monica were in the kitchen handling dessert, I asked Jasmine to help me with something in the garage. Deandra stayed inside watching the Grizzlies game. In the garage, surrounded by my tools and my workbench and the smell of motor oil that's been soaked into the concrete for 37 years, I asked her the question I'd been rehearsing for 3 days. Baby girl, how are things really going at work? She didn't miss a beat. Great, Daddy, really great. I told you about the promotion, right? They're talking about making me senior VP by the end of the year. I nodded slowly, picking up a socket wrench, turning it over in my hands. That's wonderful, sweetheart. You know, I'm proud of you, right? Always have been. I know, Daddy. Her smile was perfect. Practiced. You and Mama raised me right. Everything I have, I owe to you. This Tesla treating you well? No problems with it. It's perfect. I love it. Where you been parking it during work? Downtown parking can be expensive. For just a second, maybe half a second, something flickered across her face. Uncertainty. Fear. Then it was gone. The company has a garage. It's included. I set down the wrench. That's good. Real good. I looked at her. Really looked at her. At the daughter I'd raised to tell the truth. To face problems head on. To never be ashamed of honest work. Jasmine, if you ever need anything, if you're ever in trouble, you know you can tell me, right? No judgment. No lectures. Just help. Her eyes got shiny, and for a moment I thought she was going to break, going to tell me everything. But then she blinked, smiled again, and said, I know, Daddy, but I'm good. I promise. She was protecting someone, or something, and I was going to find out what. Over the next 2 weeks, I did what mechanics do best. I systematically diagnosed the problem. I'm methodical by nature. You don't spend 4 decades troubleshooting complex machinery without developing a process. Observe, hypothesize, test, verify. Same principle applies whether you're fixing a FedEx jet or uncovering why your daughter is lying about her entire life. I went back to that Dollar General on Mallory Avenue on a Tuesday at 2 p.m. Walked in like a regular customer, bought some paper towels and a bottle of Coca-Cola. Jasmine was there, behind the register, ringing up a customer's purchase. When she saw me, her face went white. Completely white. She froze, hand halfway to the cash drawer. I walked up to her register. The customer ahead of me grabbed their bag and left. We stood there looking at each other for what felt like an hour, but was probably 15 seconds. Daddy, her voice cracked. I'm not here to embarrass you, baby girl. I'm here because I love you, and I know something's wrong. I kept my voice low, calm. When's your shift end? 4 o'clock. I'll be in my truck in the parking lot. We're going to talk, and you're going to tell me the truth. All of it. I bought my items from another cashier and went to wait. At 4:03 p.m., Jasmine came out, still in that yellow polo, still looking like she was carrying the weight of the world. She got in the passenger seat of my F-150. Neither of us said anything for a minute. Then she started crying. Not delicate tears. Deep, gasping sobs that shook her whole body. I'm so sorry, Daddy. I'm so sorry. I handed her a napkin from my glove compartment. Start from the beginning. And don't leave anything out. The story came out in pieces, broken by crying. But I put it together. Next Gen Solutions had been real once. She really had been hired as a VP 2 years ago, right out of her master's program, salary of $95,000 a year. The company was a startup trying to develop some kind of software for logistics companies. For 6 months, it looked promising. Then the funding fell through. The CEO disappeared. The company folded. Jasmine lost her job in March of 2024, almost 18 months ago. She'd been too ashamed to tell us. Too ashamed to admit that her big success story had crashed and burned. So she'd kept up the lie, kept dressing up, kept talking about board meetings that didn't exist. She'd burned through her savings $23,000 she'd had in her Bank of America account. She'd maxed out 3 credit cards trying to maintain the lifestyle. The apartment, the car lease, the salon appointments, the wine she brought to Sunday dinners. By June, she was drowning. That's when she met Darius Malcolm Green. She showed me a picture on her phone. Smooth-talking brother, about 38 years old, wearing an expensive-looking suit, designer sunglasses, standing next to a silver 2023 BMW 5 Series. He had that look, the kind of brother who thinks he's the smartest person in every room, who's mastered the art of selling dreams instead of delivering results. They'd met at a coffee shop in Cooper Young. She was there applying for jobs on her laptop, stressed out of her mind, and he'd approached her with that well-rehearsed charm. Told her she looked like she was manifesting success, and he could feel her energy. Red flags the size of Texas, but Jasmine was vulnerable, desperate, and he knew exactly what to say. Darius told her he was a venture capital consultant and business strategist. He claimed he was working on several major deals that were about to close real estate investments, cryptocurrency portfolios, a tech startup that was going to revolutionize mobile payments. He said he had $2.3 million in assets that were temporarily tied up in escrow, but would be liquid within 90 days. He just needed some short-term help with cash flow management. Within 3 weeks, they were dating. Within 6 weeks, he'd moved into her crosstown concourse apartment. Within 8 weeks, he'd convinced her to take out a personal loan. How much? I asked, though I already knew the answer was going to hurt. $35,000 from One Main Financial on Germantown Parkway. Interest rate is 24.5%. My jaw clenched so hard, I thought I might crack a tooth. 24.5%. Predatory lending at its finest, and my educated daughter had signed on the dotted line. He said it was just temporary, Daddy. He said his big deal was closing in September, and he'd pay me back triple. He showed me documents, contracts, emails from lawyers. It all looked real. Where's the money now? She looked down at her hands. Gone. He used $15,000 to invest in his cryptocurrency portfolio. Another $8,000 went to attorney fees for the real estate deal. The rest he said he needed for operating expenses. Let me guess. September came and went. No deal closed. He said there were complications, regulatory issues. The lawyers needed more time. He promised it would be October, then November. Now he's saying January. I took a slow breath, counting to 10 like Loretta had taught me to do when I felt my blood pressure rising. Where's he getting money to pay for that BMW? Those suits he wears? He says his mother is helping him temporarily. She supposedly lives in Germantown, has money from her late husband's life insurance. You ever met this mother? No. He says she's very private. Doesn't like meeting new people. Of course she was private. She probably didn't exist. In that moment, sitting in my truck in that Dollar General parking lot, watching my daughter's life fall apart in real time, I knew exactly what Darius Malcolm Green was, a con artist. A smooth-talking parasite who'd identified a vulnerable woman and was bleeding her dry. The Tesla, I said. You're still paying the lease. $680 a month. If I don't, it gets repossessed, and that destroys my credit even more. The apartment, $1,420 a month. Darius lives there rent-free. He says once his deals close, he'll pay me back for everything, with interest. And Dollar General? $13 an hour. I work 35 to 38 hours a week. They won't give me full time because then they'd have to provide benefits. I bring home about $1,600 a month after taxes. The car and apartment alone are over $2,000. The loan payment is $847 a month. I have 3 maxed out credit cards with minimum payments totaling $340 a month. I'm drowning, Daddy. I'm drowning, and I don't know how to get out. The math was simple and devastating. My daughter was in a hole so deep she couldn't see daylight. And there was a parasite sitting in her apartment right now, probably playing video games or scrolling through social media, contributing nothing while she worked retail to keep a roof over his head. Why haven't you kicked him out? I tried. Twice. He cries, Daddy. He breaks down and tells me how much he loves me, how close the deals are, how I'm the only person who believes in him. He says his ex-wife destroyed his credit, and if I abandon him now, I'm just like her. He makes me feel guilty for even questioning him. Classic manipulation. Textbook narcissistic control. I'd seen it before in my own life, in friends' marriages, in the stories people told at church. It's always the same pattern. Isolate, create dependency, use guilt and false promises to maintain control. Does your mother know any of this? No, and you can't tell her, Daddy, please. She'd be so disappointed in me. Jasmine, your mother loves you. We both do, but you can't keep living like this. I know. I just need a little more time to figure it out. That's what trap people always say, a little more time. As if time alone solves problems instead of making them worse. But I didn't argue with her. Not then. I'd learned long ago that you can't force someone to see the truth before they're ready. You can only plant seeds and be there when they finally sprout. I'm not going to tell your mother yet, I said. But I need you to do something for me. I need you to give me all the information about Darius. Full name, birthday, phone number, where he claims he's from, the name of his supposed business. Everything. Can you do that? Why? Because before we make any decisions about how to fix this, I need to know exactly who we're dealing with. She hesitated, then nodded. Okay. She texted me the information right there. Darius Malcolm Green, born May 14th, 1986, claims to be from Birmingham originally, moved to Memphis in 2018. Phone number, email address, the name of his supposed consulting company, Elite Strategies Group LLC. One more thing, I said. Don't tell him we talked. Don't tell him I know anything. Act normal. Can you do that? I think so. Not think, baby girl. I need to know you can do it. Because if he gets spooked, if he knows someone's looking into him, he'll disappear. And we'll never get your money back. Something changed in her face then. A small spark of hope, maybe, or just the relief of not being alone anymore. I can do it, Daddy. I promise. Good. Now go home. I'll be in touch soon. She got out of my truck, got into that Tesla that was costing her $680 a month she didn't have, and drove away. I sat there for another 10 minutes, just thinking, planning. In my 38 years at FedEx, I dealt with thieves before people who stole packages, mechanics who cut corners, supervisors who skimmed overtime. The key to catching them wasn't confrontation. It was documentation, evidence, patience. Darius Malcolm Green had made a critical mistake. He'd targeted the daughter of a man who spent 4 decades solving problems for a living, a man who was a deacon at Greater Emmanuel Baptist Church, a man who had connections throughout Memphis, a man who believed that patience and wisdom beat impulse and anger every single time. I drove home and didn't say a word to Loretta about what I'd learned. She asked how my day was, and I said it was fine. We watched Jeopardy together, ate leftover pie, went to bed at our usual time of 10 p.m. But I didn't sleep much that night. My mind was already working through the next steps. The next morning, Thursday at 8:30 a.m., I made the first phone call. Jerome Washington, my best friend for 41 years, a private investigator who'd retired from the Memphis Police Department in 2017 after 28 years on the force. We'd met when we were 23, both young men trying to build careers and families. We'd been in each other's weddings, baptized each other's children, buried our parents together. Jerome, it's Thomas. I need a favor, and I need it to be quiet. Talk to me. I told him everything. He listened without interrupting, the way good investigators do. When I finished, he was quiet for a moment, then said, "Give me 48 hours. I'll find out who this brother really is." Jerome called me back on Saturday afternoon. I was in my garage, organizing tools, when my phone rang. Loretta was at her book club meeting at the church, so I could talk freely. "Thomas, you sitting down?" "Should I be?" "Yeah, you should." I sat on my workbench stool. "Tell me, Darius Malcolm Green is a professional con artist." He's been running variations of the same scam for at least 8 years, probably longer. I found 3 other women in Memphis alone who filed police reports against him between 2019 and 2023. There's a warrant out for him in Nashville from 2021 fraud, theft by deception. He never showed up for court. There's another case in Birmingham from 2018, same pattern, and those are just the ones I found with some basic searches. I'm guessing there are more who never reported it because they were too embarrassed. My hands gripped the edge of the workbench. What's his pattern? Targets professional women, usually in their 30s or early 40s, usually going through some kind of transition or vulnerability, divorce, job loss, family crisis. He presents himself as a successful businessman, shows them fake documents, fake bank statements, talks about deals that are always about to close. He gets them to give him money, sometimes as loans, sometimes as investments, and then he drains them dry. When they start asking too many questions, he either disappears or he escalates the manipulation until they kick him out. Then he moves on to the next victim. How much has he taken total? From what I can document, at least $340,000 from 7 different women. Probably more we don't know about. $340,000. 7 women. My Jasmine was number 8. Here's the thing, Thomas. The guy's smart. He's never been convicted because he structures everything as loans or business investments. The women give him money willingly. They sign documents he creates, and when it falls apart, it's hard to prove criminal intent versus a business deal gone bad. The Nashville warrant is the only time they got him on criminal charges, and he's been dodging it for 4 years. What do the women say about him when he finally leaves? Broke, traumatized, some of them financially ruined. One woman I talked to, Candace Miller, works as a nurse at Baptist Memorial, said she lost $47,000 to him. Had to declare bankruptcy. Another woman, Angela Thompson, schoolteacher in Cordova, lost $38,000. Had to move back in with her mother at age 42. They all say the same thing. He was charming, convincing, and by the time they realized what was happening, they were in too deep. I closed my eyes. This wasn't just about Jasmine anymore. This was about stopping a predator who'd been destroying lives for years. Jerome, I need more than information. I need a plan. What are you thinking? I'm thinking we give him exactly what he wants. We make him believe his biggest score is about to land. And when he commits fully, we make sure he can't walk away. Jerome was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "You want to set a trap?" That's exactly what I want to do. Thomas, man, I love you like a brother, but this is dangerous. If he figures out what you're doing, he won't, because he's arrogant. Every con artist is. They think they're smarter than everyone else. That's their weakness. What do you need from me? Everything you can document on him. Police reports, victim statements, photos, addresses, phone records, if you can get them. I need a file so complete that when we're ready to move, there's no way he can talk his way out. I can do that. Give me a week. You got it. And Jerome? Not a word to anyone. Not even your wife. This has to stay between us until we're ready. You got my word. For the next 9 days, I lived a double life. On the surface, I was Thomas Edward Richardson, retired mechanic, deacon at Greater Emmanuel Baptist, husband to Loretta for 39 years, father of 2. I went to church on Sunday, had coffee with Loretta every morning at 7 a.m., watched the news, maintained my truck, lived my normal routine. But underneath, I was building a case against Darius Malcolm Green with the precision of a master mechanic rebuilding an engine. Jerome delivered the file on a Tuesday evening. He came to my house at 6 p.m., while Loretta was at her quilting circle at the church. We sat in my garage with the door closed, and he laid out everything he'd found on my workbench. 7 police reports from 3 different cities. Statements from 6 different women. He hadn't been able to contact the seventh. Bank records showing a pattern of deposits and withdrawals that matched Jasmine's story exactly. Photographs of Darius with different women at different times, always wearing expensive clothes, always looking successful. A copy of the Nashville arrest warrant, dated March 2021, charging him with theft over $10,000 and criminal fraud. Court documents showing he'd failed to appear and a bench warrant had been issued. "There's more," Jerome said, pulling out another folder. "I talked to a detective in Birmingham, guy named Marcus Powell. He's been tracking Darius off and on for 3 years. Powell says Darius has a whole system. He creates fake LLCs, files them with the state using addresses of businesses that don't exist anymore. Elite Strategies Group, Summit Capital Ventures, Apex Business Solutions. He's got at least 8 different company names he rotates through. He uses them to create fake contracts, fake invoices, fake deal memos. Everything looks legitimate on the surface. Where's he really getting his money? From the women. That BMW he drives? Leased in the name of his previous girlfriend, a woman named Shanice Roberts from Germantown. She's still making the payments because he convinced her if she defaults, it'll ruin her credit. The suits, the lifestyle, it's all funded by whoever his current victim is. He's essentially a parasite, moving from host to host. I looked at the photographs at this man who'd been sleeping in my daughter's apartment, eating food she paid for, driving around Memphis in a car some other woman was paying for, all while Jasmine worked retail at $13 an hour to keep herself afloat. Detective Powell said something else interesting. Jerome continued. Darius is greedy. Every woman he's conned, he didn't just take what they gave him and leave. He kept pushing, kept asking for more, kept dangling the big payday just out of reach. That's his pattern. He won't leave until he's squeezed every dollar he can get. That's what we're going to use against him, I said. I spent the next week carefully crafting my approach. I couldn't just expose Darius to Jasmine and hope she'd kick him out. She'd tried that already, and he manipulated his way back in. I couldn't go to the police with what we had because, as Jerome had explained, most of what Darius was doing existed in a gray area between civil disputes and criminal fraud. The Nashville warrant was our best shot, but if he got arrested and bonded out, he'd disappear before we could help Jasmine recover anything. No, I needed something better. I needed to make Darius commit to a con so big, so irresistible, that when it collapsed on him, there'd be no escape. And I needed to do it in a way that protected Jasmine and helped her get free. The plan came together on a Sunday night. I was sitting in my home office at 11 p.m., Loretta asleep upstairs, when all the pieces clicked into place. I picked up my phone and called Jerome. I know it's late, but I've got it. I'm listening. Darius thinks he's a predator, right? He thinks he's the smartest guy in the room. What if we make him think he's found the biggest score of his career? What if we dangle something so tempting he can't resist? What are you thinking? My retirement money. I've got $487,000 in my 401k from FedEx, managed through Vanguard. What if Jasmine tells Darius that her father is thinking about investing in a business opportunity, something lucrative, but I need a consultant to help me evaluate it? What if she suggests he meet with me to advise me, and I play the role of an old man with money who doesn't understand modern business? Jerome was quiet for a moment. You want to catfish a catfish. Exactly. I offer him a consultation fee, say $5,000, just to meet with me and review some documents. That gets his attention. Proves I have money. Then I tell him I'm considering investing $100,000 into a real estate partnership, but I need someone knowledgeable to help me navigate it. I'll bet everything I own that he'll try to steer me toward one of his fake deals instead. And when he does, we document everything. Every lie, every fake document, every fraudulent claim. We record the meetings. We get it all on tape. Then, when he's fully committed, When he thinks he's about to score 6 figures from the naive old mechanic, we bring in the police with evidence of active fraud. Not old cases, not he said, she said from past victims. Fresh, documented, undeniable fraud. Thomas, if this goes wrong, it won't, because I know something Darius doesn't know. I've been dealing with people who think they can outsmart me for 4 decades. I've caught parts thieves who had elaborate systems. I've identified mechanics who were billing for work they never did. I've outlasted supervisors who tried to force me into early retirement. I'm 64 years old, Jerome, and I didn't get here by being stupid. Darius sees an old black man from Memphis, probably thinks I'm uneducated, probably thinks I'm an easy mark. He has no idea who he's dealing with. Jerome laughed quietly. You know what? I believe you. When do we start? I need to talk to Jasmine first, get her on board. She's the key to making this work. I met Jasmine on her lunch break on Wednesday at a small restaurant called The Arcade on South Main Street. Oldest diner in Memphis. Been there since 1919. She was wearing her Dollar General uniform under a jacket. We sat in a back booth, and I ordered us both the meat and 3 special. Daddy, what's this about? I slid a folder across the table. Open it. Inside were copies of the police reports, the victim statements, the photographs. I watched her face as she read through them, watched the color drain from her cheeks, watched her hands start to shake. He's done this before, she whispered. To other women, 7 that we know of. You're number 8, baby girl. And he's taken over $340,000 total. He's a professional criminal, and he targeted you because you were vulnerable. Tears started running down her face. I'm so stupid. I'm so stupid. No. I reached across and took her hand. You're not stupid. You're trusting, and you were going through a hard time, and he's an expert at this. He's been perfecting this con for years. This is not your fault. What do I do? You help me catch him. And when we're done, not only do we get him arrested, but we make sure he can't do this to anyone else. I explained the plan. All of it. The fake investment opportunity, the consultation fee, the recordings, everything. She listened, wiping her eyes with a napkin. You really think this will work? I know it will, because men like Darius can't resist. It's not even about the money for them anymore. It's about the game, about proving they're smarter than everyone else. When you tell him your old father has $500,000 in retirement money and doesn't know what to do with it, he's going to see dollar signs. He won't be able to help himself. When do we start? Tonight. You go home, and you tell him that you and I had lunch, that I was asking you about financial advisors, because I'm thinking about early retirement investments. You mentioned casually that you told me your boyfriend is a business consultant. You say I seemed interested in maybe paying him for some advice. Make it sound like your idea, like you're trying to help him finally make some money. What if he gets suspicious? He won't, because in his mind, he's already got you fooled. So why wouldn't your father be easy too? Just play it natural. Tell him I'm willing to pay $5,000 for a consultation. That number is important, high enough to prove I have money, low enough to seem like I don't really understand what consultants charge. Can you do this? She took a deep breath, then nodded. I can do this. Good. One more thing. I need you to be strong for just a little bit longer. I know you want to kick him out right now. I know you want to scream at him for what he's done. But if we do this right, not only do we get him arrested, but the victims in Nashville and Birmingham get justice too. You'll be helping save other women from going through what you went through. Something shifted in her eyes then. The tears stopped. Her jaw set. Okay, let's do it. That night, Jasmine texted me at 8:47 p.m. He's interested. Wants to meet this weekend. I texted back. Saturday at 2 p.m. Tell him to come to the house. Saturday morning, I prepared. Jerome came over at 10 a.m. with recording equipment, small devices that looked like pens. a voice recorder hidden in a desk clock. We set everything up in my home office. Loretta had gone to an all-day women's retreat at the church. Wouldn't be home until 6 p.m. Perfect timing. "You ready for this?" Jerome asked. I was born ready. At 1:55 p.m., a silver BM pulled up in my driveway. Darius Malcolm Green stepped out wearing a gray suit that probably cost $800, Italian leather shoes, gold watch that was either fake or stolen. He carried a leather briefcase and had that confident walk of a man who thought he owned the world. I opened the door before he could knock. "Mr. Richardson?" He extended his hand, smile perfect, grip firm. Darius Green. "It's a pleasure to meet you, sir. Come on in." I shook his hand, played my part. Friendly, a little uncertain, a man out of his depth. "Jasmine's told me a lot about you. All good things, I hope." That practiced laugh. "She says you're a business expert." That's exactly what I need. We sat in my home office, me behind my desk, Darius in the chair across from me. The hidden recorders were running. Everything he said was being documented. "So, Mr. Richardson, call me Thomas." "Thomas. Jasmine mentioned you're looking at some investment opportunities?" "That's right. See, I worked at FedEx for 38 years. Retired in 2019. Got a 401k with about $487,000 in it. Just sitting there, mutual funds. My buddy at church, he's been making good money in real estate partnerships, and I'm thinking maybe I should do something similar. But I don't know much about business, you know? I was a mechanic. Good with my hands, not so good with numbers and contracts." I watched his eyes light up. It was subtle, but I'd been reading people for 64 years. He saw exactly what I wanted him to see. An unsophisticated old man with a pile of money and no idea what to do with it. "Well, Thomas, I appreciate your honesty. A lot of people get into investments without proper guidance and end up losing money. The fact that you're seeking expert advice shows wisdom." He opened his briefcase, pulled out some official-looking folders. "I've been consulting an investment strategy for 12 years. I work primarily with high-net-worth individuals and small business owners, helping them identify opportunities and avoid pitfalls. All lies smoothly delivered. Now, Jasmine mentioned you might be interested in compensating me for a consultation. I typically charge $15,000 for a comprehensive investment analysis. But because you're Jasmine's father, I'd be willing to do an initial review for $5,000. That would include examining your current portfolio, analyzing potential opportunities, and providing written recommendations." I pretended to think about it. $5,000 seems fair. "When would you need that?" "Ideally before we start the analysis. It ensures we're both committed to the process. I can write you a check right now." His smile widened. "That would be perfect." I pulled out my checkbook, Bank of America, same account I'd had for 32 years, and wrote him a check for $5,000. Dated November 23, 2025. Made out to Darius Malcolm Green. In the memo line, I wrote, "Business Consultation Services." I tore it out and handed it to him. He looked at it, and I swear I saw him almost salivate. "Thank you, Thomas. I'll deposit this Monday and get started on your analysis immediately. So tell me about these investment opportunities you mentioned." For the next 45 minutes, Darius spun his web. He talked about a real estate development partnership in Nashville that was guaranteed to return 40% within 18 months. He showed me fake prospectuses, fake financial statements, fake testimonials from previous investors who'd made millions. He mentioned a cryptocurrency mining operation that was about to go public, and early investors would see 500% returns within 2 years. It was all garbage. Beautiful, well-packaged garbage. But I played along, asked questions like someone who was interested but nervous. "This sounds good, but it's a lot of money. What if something goes wrong?" "Thomas, I understand your concern. That's exactly why you need someone like me managing this for you. I have connections, I have experience, I have a track record. If you invest $100,000 in the Nashville development deal, I can personally guarantee you'll see $140,000 back by June 2027. I'll put it in writing. You'd guarantee it? Absolutely. In fact, I'll do better than that. If you're serious about this, I can set up a special arrangement where I manage the entire investment for you. You transfer the funds to a secure escrow account that I control. I handle all the paperwork and transactions, and you just sit back and wait for the returns. Simple, safe, stress-free. There it was, the core of the con. Get me to transfer money to an account he controlled, and it would disappear. How much of a fee would you charge for that management service? Normally 15% of the invested amount. But for you, because your family, Jasmine, and I are getting very serious, Thomas, I should tell you that I'd do it for 10%. So on $100,000, my management fee would be $10,000, leaving $90,000 for the actual investment. And when would I see returns? Conservatively, 18 months. But I've seen deals like this pay out in as little as 9 months. I nodded slowly, like I was seriously considering it. Let me think about this for a week. Talk it over with my wife. Something flickered in his eyes. Frustration, maybe? He wanted commitment now, but he covered it quickly. Of course. This is a big decision. But Thomas, I should mention, these opportunities don't stay available long. The Nashville deal is closing on December 15th. If you want in, I'll need to secure your spot by December 10th at the latest. Creating urgency. Classic con artist technique. I understand. I'll let you know by December 8th. Perfect. He stood, shook my hand again. Thomas, I'm really excited about this. You're making a smart choice, seeking guidance. Jasmine's lucky to have a follower like you. She's lucky to have you too, I said. And it took everything in me not to let the sarcasm show. After he left, Jerome came out from the next room where he'd been monitoring everything. Got it all? Every word. Multiple angles. This is enough to charge him with attempted fraud right now. Not yet. I want him to commit fully. I want him to bring fake contracts, fake escrow account information, everything. The more evidence we have, the harder he falls. Over the next week, Darius called me 3 times. Each time, he pushed a little harder, mentioned how other investors were jumping on board, suggested I could invest more than $100,000 if I wanted to maximize returns, offered to introduce me to his legal team who could review contracts. On December 5th, I called him. Darius, I've thought about it. I'm in. Let's do the $100,000 investment in the Nashville deal. I could hear the triumph in his voice. Thomas, that's fantastic. You're making a very wise decision. I'll prepare all the paperwork. Can you meet me Monday, December 8th to sign the contracts and initiate the transfer? Monday works. Come by the house at 3 p.m. Perfect. I'll bring everything you need. I hung up and immediately called Jerome. Then I called Detective Marcus Powell in Birmingham and explained everything we had. Powell contacted the Nashville police about the outstanding warrant. We coordinated with a Memphis police detective named Angela Morris, who specialized in fraud cases. Everyone was briefed. Everyone was ready. But there was one more person I needed to talk to. Sunday after church, I took Loretta to our favorite spot, Tom Lee Park, on the Mississippi River. We sat on a bench looking out at the water, the same view we'd been looking at together for nearly 4 decades. Loretta, I need to tell you something about Jasmine. I told her everything. The job loss, the debt, Darius, the lies, the plan. I watched my wife's face go through every emotion shock, hurt, anger, fear, and finally, determination. When I finished, she was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, "That man has been sitting at our dinner table. eating food I cooked, smiling at us, while he was destroying our daughter. Yes, and tomorrow you're going to make sure he pays for it. Yes, she took my hand. Thomas Edward Richardson, in 39 years of marriage, I have never been more proud to be your wife than I am right now. Monday, December 8th, 2025, 2:45 p.m. My house on Spotswood Avenue. Detective Angela Morris and her partner, Detective James Chun, were in my garage, listening through earpieces. Jerome was in the next room with recording equipment. Loretta was at her sister's house. I didn't want her anywhere near this when it went down. Jasmine had taken the day off work. She sat with me in the living room, nervous but resolved. "You okay, baby girl?" "I'm okay, Daddy." At 2:58 p.m., the BMW pulled up. Darius walked in carrying his briefcase and a folder of documents, wearing his best suit, his $1,000,000 smile. "Thomas." "Jasmine, good to see you both." He set his briefcase on the coffee table. "I've got everything ready. This is going to be the start of something great. Before we get started," I said, my voice casual, "I want to ask you something. How long have you been running this con?" His smile froze. "I'm sorry?" "The con. The scam. How long have you been stealing from women?" The room went completely silent. Darius looked at Jasmine, then back at me. "I don't know what you're talking about." I pulled out Jerome's folder and dropped it on the table. Police reports from Nashville, Birmingham, and Memphis. 7 victims. $340,000 stolen. Outstanding warrant for your arrest. Tell me, Darius, did you really think you could come into my house, try to steal my retirement money, and I wouldn't figure out who you really are? His face went pale, then red. Jasmine, what is this? This is me finally seeing who you really are, she said, her voice steady. You're a liar and a thief, and you're done. He stood up quickly, reaching for his briefcase. I don't have to listen to this. The front door opened. Detective Morris and Detective Chun walked in, badges displayed. Darius Malcolm Green, Detective Morris said, you're under arrest for the outstanding warrant issued in Nashville, Tennessee for fraud and theft. You're also being charged with attempted fraud in Memphis based on evidence gathered during this investigation. You have the right to remain silent. I watched as they cuffed him, read him his rights. He looked at me with pure hatred. You set me up. You see now, old man, you set me up. No, I said calmly. You set yourself up. Every lie you told, every document you faked, every dollar you tried to steal. That was all you. I just made sure there were consequences. Before you continue watching, I need you to do something for me. If this story is hitting home, if you know someone who's been conned or manipulated like this, drop a comment below. Share this video. Let people know that predators like Darius exist, but they can be stopped. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, because stories like this, real stories about real problems matter. Now let's finish this. Darius Malcolm Green was extradited to Nashville in January 2026. He faced 7 counts of fraud, 3 counts of theft over $10,000, and 2 counts of identity theft. With the evidence we'd gathered, plus testimony from his previous victims, the case was airtight. His public defender advised him to take a plea deal. In March 2026, he was sentenced to 8 years in Tennessee State Prison with no possibility of parole for 5 years. The $5,000 check I'd written him? I'd stopped payment on it the day before his arrest. He never got a dime. But more importantly, we were able to help some of his previous victims. The BMW he'd been driving was repoed and the lease terminated, freeing Shanice Roberts from that burden. 2 other women were able to use our documented evidence to pursue civil suits against him, though there wasn't much to collect since he had no assets. Still, it was something. It was justice. As for Jasmine, the road back wasn't easy. The day after Darius was arrested, I sat down with her and we made a plan. She moved out of the expensive crosstown apartment and into a smaller place in Midtown, $750 a month, less than half what she'd been paying. She returned the Tesla to the dealership and took the credit hit, but it freed her from that $680 monthly payment. I helped her get a used 2019 Honda Accord for $8,500 cash reliable, good on gas, no monthly payment. The $35,000 loan was trickier. I wanted to just pay it off for her, but Loretta and I talked about it, and we agreed that wouldn't help Jasmine in the long run. Instead, I co-signed a debt consolidation loan at a much better interest rate, 8.9% instead of 24.5%, and she's been making payments faithfully every month. She works 2 jobs now, Dollar General part-time and a better-paying position she got at a logistics company, using her actual degree, making $52,000 a year. It's not VP money, but it's honest work, and she's proud of it. Most importantly, she's in therapy. Twice a month, she sees a counselor who specializes in financial abuse and manipulation. She's learning to recognize the red flags, to rebuild her self-worth, to forgive herself for being human. On a Sunday in April, about 4 months after everything went down, we were all at dinner, me, Loretta, Deandra, Monica, and Jasmine. We were eating Loretta's pot roast, talking and laughing, and I looked around that table and felt something I hadn't felt in months: peace. After everyone left, Jasmine stayed behind to help clean up. As we were drying dishes, she turned to me. "Daddy, I never properly thanked you. For what? For not giving up on me, for not judging me, for fighting for me even when I couldn't fight for myself." I set down the dish towel and looked at my daughter. "Jasmine, you're my baby girl. There's nothing in this world I wouldn't do to protect you. Nothing. And you don't need to thank me for being your father. That's what fathers do." She hugged me then, tight, the way she used to when she was little and I'd come home from a long shift at FedEx. "I love you, Daddy. I love you too, baby girl. I'm 64 years old now, and I've learned a few things in my time on this earth. I've learned that patience is more powerful than anger. I've learned that wisdom beats impulse every single time. I've learned that karma isn't about revenge. It's about consequences, about the natural result of people's actions catching up with them. But most importantly, I've learned that dignity is power." When Darius looked at me, he saw an old black man from Memphis. Probably thought I was an easy target. Thought I didn't have the education or sophistication to see through his game. It couldn't have been more wrong. The dignity I've carried for 64 years, the wisdom I've accumulated through decades of hard work and raising a family and being part of a community, that was my strength. Not wealth, not status, but character. There are a lot of predators out there, people like Darius, who prey on vulnerability and trust. They count on shame keeping their victims silent, on isolation keeping people from asking for help. But I want you to hear this. If you or someone you love is being manipulated, being controlled, being drained by someone who promises everything and delivers nothing, it's not too late. Reach out. Ask for help. There are people who will fight for you, who will stand with you, who won't judge you for being human. And to the Dariuses of the world, the ones who think they're smarter than everyone else, who think they can charm and lie and steal without consequences, remember this. There's always a Thomas Richardson out there. Always someone who sees through you. Always someone who will make sure karma catches up. My daughter is free now. She's building her life back, one honest day at a time. And that's worth more than any amount of money, any title, any status symbol. That's real success. Thank you for sticking with me through this whole story. I know it was long, I know it was heavy, but these are the stories that need to be told. If this resonated with you, if you got something out of it, do me a favor, leave a like, share this with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe if you want more real stories about real life. Drop a comment telling me what you thought, where you're watching from, what time it is, where you are. I read every single one. Remember, karma isn't vengeful. It's just patient. And the truth always comes to light. God bless you. Take care of each other. And I'll see you in the next story.